Is there a fact to this? Because
Of
I know
course.
some time back the legislators were frustrated with the fact that certain agencies were not presenting their budget. For example, NNPC.
Yeah, that's the 2017 17 budget. I no, 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 no. 2018 just started now, so you cannot really. If you want to judge from 2018, I will just tell you they are inviting them. So maybe they've not actually invited the NNPC to
We
come.
also had the concern of budget not even presented from yeah. Are we right on this one? Because you have this look on your face. Like,
Budget not presented. No, but one thing I know is for every agency there is a budget. For every agency there is a budget. So NNPC has a budget, but most times this revenue generating agency, the problem with this revenue generating agency is that, they have a budget and they generate so much money. The issue there is the money they generate, because perhaps the constitution has given them a leeway to spend particular amount of the money they generate, and they just take a step further to say, okay, since we have a window, let's turn the window to a door.
Okay, yeah.
You understand?
I think, right. Failure to submit 2017 budget proposal to the passage of. All right, go ahead.
And so that is what I'm saying. So, and one thing is, the executive must also learn to understand that the National Assembly needs to be respected. That is why in every constitutional democracy, the National Assembly is actually there to check the excesses of the executive. So, but when in this case, in our own case, we have incidences where the executive tends to overrule or
veto.
No, that is what I will call it. What else do you want to
but
it's not supposed to be so.
Do you think that this disconnect between the executive and the legislature, what do you think is the cause of it? Because ideally they ought to work together. They ought to work as not exactly as one, but at least give themselves a sort of checks and balances. But sometimes the executive presents something to a bill, if you will, or proposes something to the National Assembly and wants to put it into law, and the National Assembly says, no, we're not going to do this. I mean, we've had cases of back and forth. The incidence of appointments comes to mind now, where the executive wants to go one way and the legislature wants to go the other way. So who yields? Because that's essentially what we get. You are saying now that it's a matter of respect.
Of course.
That the executive should respect the legislature more.
Of course.
But don't you think the legislature should respect the executive?
No. You see, one thing there is this: the legislature also needs to respect the executive, because what is good for the goose is good for the gander. You understand? So, and respect begets respect. You understand? One thing I know for sure is the National Assembly will not just wake up overnight and decide to say we want to reject the nomination of anybody. They must do that with a reason. I don't know if you understand.
Right.
So they will not just. I have not seen a case where they decided to say, okay, because I hate this guy's face, I don't want him to be appointed.
You think it's not possible?
Why I say it's not possible?
The reason I'm asking is because we all there's even in the National Assembly there are undertones of politics going on.
Of course.
So when somebody says that, okay, the idea that Nigerians have in general is that something is going on. Somebody, a certain principality, if you will, does not want this person appointed, and as such, he mobilizes the rest of the National Assembly, and they say no, we don't want this person.
Razak, do you know what?
Yes.
The National Assembly is made up of 109 senators,
Diverse people.
360 House of Representatives members.
More diverse people.
Do you know what somebody said?
What?
It's easy to control 100 cattle than getting 10 people or 2 people to agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
So for you, for you,
of independent thinking.
of course. So for you to convince this over 400, if not, I don't think it's that cheap. Because one thing you should know is the executive also have vested interest there. They have people they planted there.
Yes.
And so it has to do with, just as you call it, politics. If you know how to mobilize, of course you are sending somebody, you should be sending somebody who is sellable. If you are not sellable, that is the first thing. Who are you sending? Is it sellable? Is it somebody who has the pedigree that people would say, okay, this guy is up to the task? But when you are sending somebody who is not sellable, then it is easy for me to leverage on that fault and sell my idea to my colleagues. I don't know if you get that.
All right. We're opening up the conversation, bringing you in now. But let's look at more messages before we open the phone lines. Here we have from Ahmed. It's possible to complete projects, and it still appears in the 2018 budget because the contractor has used his money to complete it, waiting for his money to be paid. Then it will now be featured in the proposed budget.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. That is what we're talking about, money, Kimberly. I remember talking about money. So when there's no money, of course you have to keep showing the budget, the project, not until you clear the debt.
Exactly. Okay. Let's hear from you. If you want to chip in a thought or two and or ask questions, you're welcome to do that. We're looking at the National Assembly here, but talking budget, talking anti-graft, also war and agencies. Yeah. So we have someone waiting for. If you don't have our number, here it is: 0946000951, or you could call 00959748669 or 0803-123-0293 or 080-008 Nigeria info.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ahmed Al-Hassan.
Welcome, Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I would like to be very much clear in what you call open, because up to now I'm not yet clear.
No.
Some of us know both school very well. It's good we understand it.
When you mean that the process is open?
When about the open process of the budget, is it that what you said that there is we want to know the link or whatever that can connect us, because like me now, I cannot enter the National Assembly because the gate there, they will snatch me away. Because I have very much nothing. So you understand? Okay. So a lot of, I think 90% of Nigeria does not even have access to the National Assembly or even get to be part of the budget process. So with that kind of a thing, how does it make it open? Is it open to some few segments, or is it open to everybody? Even me tomorrow I can go and say I want to know the budget. That is one part of it. But I usually like the changing pattern of the processes and whatever that we are hearing. Most of the things is that these things are only on paper. When you go practical, you find something different. I think we should be open to ourselves. Let us educate us more so that we participate in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, let's take a few more thoughts and then you respond to them together. Hello.
I think I need to take
Yeah,
it.
good evening. My name is Jerry.
All right, Jerry from Warrior, welcome.
Yeah. The truth about the matter is that projects will continue to reoccur because no budget of any year is executed 100%. So you find out that there are shortfalls. Contractors will work, they won't be paid. So it has to appear again in short. I have people that did projects in 2009 and they said unless it is inserted in the budget, they will not be paid. So it's a recurring decimal, and it can only happen that it will stop when you execute budget 100%. As long as it's never executed 100%, it must continue to reoccur, because what they will tell you is that the money was not enough to execute this, so it has to come back again. Or part of it was done, it has to come back again. So that is the main issue about the recurring projects.
All right.
And it can be fraudulent at times, but the truth is that some of them are genuine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's hear from this caller. Hello. Good evening. Good evening. We can hear you. Go ahead.
My name is Leonard.
Nenman.
Yeah. What I don't understand is that, for instance, if a project is, if the project proposal for a project has only 1 billion naira, then the specific will be the money that is meant for that budget. What I don't know is that if the National Assembly has the legislature on the oversight concept, like, the government just know if the executive will know, and if the executive will use the money, how much is supposed to be the balance to make sure that that project is completed, not that we continue seeing repetition of the same projects every year and every year. Please, that's what I don't understand. Thank you.
Okay. During the oversight function of the National Assembly, if they can't ascertain the level of work done, how much has been released, to marry it with whatever presents in the budget, the next budget cycle. That's one of it. But we just want to get it all together so they can respond to them. I hope you're taking notes. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
I salute your guest. My name is Ambassador.
Welcome, Ambassador.
My own take is that when you ask the question that why is it so stiff relationship between the national assembly, the executive and the legislation, let's just put it that way. And your guest was not truth. The response of your guest was not something that
Is acceptable to you.
It's not satisfactory at all. Because we all know the genesis of this state assembly, where they started from and now everything, and what we Nigerians are, the Nigerians are the pillars of all their forced relationships. And sincerely, I would like you to tell us, to be point blank and to be precise, what is the way forward, whereby the masses, the Nigerians, the voters, those who have voted for them, benefit from this ongoing government. Because in one way or the other, we are getting negative signal from two of them as a result of their close relationship. If you look at America, they are checking, when they see that the government, they are not really, Trump is being taking personal. They stand by him and say, no, we don't want this one. And any other thing that is okay, you see the two of the majority members support him and pass it. Their budget is still hanging too now, as I'm talking to you.
Okay.
So please, because there is a manifestation of personal high-handedness of Trump in their budget. I'm very curious whenever I'm doing analysis. I don't like comparing Nigeria with America because there are a lot of factors that are involved that we can never compare America with Nigeria.
All right, Ambassador Adi.
Thank
you very much. And whenever I hear National Assembly, regional empowerment and development comes to my mind, how can one reach his or her representative in the assembly? Because the money is given to some of them cannot be seen in their constituencies. Thriving Man from Kubwa and then Lawrence from Mararaba says, how can a project that money has been budgeted for not get an allocation again, even when the budget is executed up to 70%? Can that not be a means of corruption too? We'll just give our guest time to respond to these questions, comments, and thoughts. So once you can take a swing at,
well,
go ahead.
You know, one interesting thing is when we started the whole thing, we talked about funds. I remember talking about funds. That when you don't have funds, you have issues with the budget, which is key. And that is a problem Nigeria is facing. I think I was watching channels yesterday, and somebody was like, the data analyst was like, instead of thinking of increasing allocation for state, reconfiguring the revenue sharing formula so that they increase certain percentage to state, it is better Nigerians begin to look at ways of getting more money, because it is better for you to take 1% of a trillion than taking 10% of a billion. If they give you 1% of a trillion and you 10% of it, you know what it means. It's difference, because that money is not small money. You get it? So that is, Nigeria needs to think outside the box. How do we get more money to the country? How do we save cost so that we can support this project? And any project that you think is not feasible, why? Is it because you want to please? Some of these projects, the origin of some of these projects, they are just for political, to score political points, to appease certain people. That is just the truth. It is not doable. You cannot do it. But because you want that particular part to feel I am a good man, it will be on record. Whether you did not do it, they will keep telling people that it was that guy that gave us that project, that initiated it. And that is the problem. And so, with respect to openness, that the first caller actually commented on, you see, I said something here that they have given us a window. Is a window. Before any budget defense is done, there are circulars, the publications, so and so. There will be budget defense on this. It's usually at the National Assembly, and I know they have their own portal whereby perhaps you can find you can find that. But I know I can't guarantee that. But I know you should be able to find that.
The media is also welcome.
And the media is also, when you go to platforms, you see they're telling you there's budget defense for this tomorrow or today. Haven't you seen it?
Okay.
Of course, they feature on papers. So if these things are coming up, even loans, when they say cooperative, we have released loan to farmers. As individuals, you find it difficult to assess that particular amount of money. They say form cooperatives. And so as civil society, who can go there and engage this guy constructively, because as an individual, it's possible you can engage constructively, but let's be frank with ourselves. There's a limit to which you can go as an individual. But if you are going there as a structure, I think it is better presented. And I think some CSO have actually leveraged on these opportunities. I know CSOs that are in the National Assembly and worked with the National Assembly. They are there. They are facilitating certain projects and processes, bringing the activities of the National Assembly open.
And breaking it down, a lot of them are doing so great, particularly on social media, where they break this thing down enough for the average Nigerian to consume, digest properly what this thing is. Because they could just be random figures and way above the heads of a lot of people.
And I think there was even an incident where there was a publication, I think the budget director of budget office took at what's it called, budget, and it was like, actually you did this, you would have just, why don't you consult us, let's explain to you. That's some level of openness. I don't know if you understand, because the government is now looking at it that Nigerians are beginning to know this opportunity, they are taking advantage of it. So, but now they are forced to say, okay, if you want to take advantage of this process, take advantage of it correctly, so that you don't put us into trouble.
Okay. And is that all? Because we have limited time. I think we have just a minute.
Okay. Somebody talked about the differences between the executive and the National Assembly. The truth there is, there's a history. Whether you like it or not, there's a history. But that has not stopped the National Assembly from carrying out their own constitutional responsibility. I think I have actually enumerated a number of areas where they are checking these excesses and they want to support the executive to ensure that this process thrives. And so if somebody is trying to say some persons, I don't want to call names, and that is why you see I try as much as possible to to wave that off. I said respect begets respect. The executive must understand that we are in a constitutional democracy. If the people say no, if the National Assembly has been given the powers to approve appointment and they say no and you say yes, of course you want problems. Of course problems will definitely surface. That is the truth.
Okay. I think this is the most we can take in terms of our conversation with our guest here in the studio. Our time is up for Buharimeter today. But I want to say a very, very big thank you to Mr. Samuel Vincent, Oak TV representative at the National Assembly. Thank you very much for coming over.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's nice having you.
Yeah. Razak, thank you.
Kimberly, always fun. Always fun.
Appreciate the CDD, Center for Democracy and Development, and Osiwa for this program. We'll be back on Monday, next Monday that is, 6:30 p.m. So make it a date. But please don't touch your dial. There's still so much to come, so stay with us. Thank you.
Kimberly, thank you.
I wasn't sure how it was going to go because I just saw your topic not too long.
I can imagine.
People want me to call Mr. Mago's name.
Nobody.
I cannot.
Yeah, politics on air again.
No.
But you did right.
You don't need to call. You need to be very clever.
Even me, I know.
You need to call somebody.
It was on Kimberly's show that
Kimberly will just blow here. Where's the own?
We are used to the hate mail and the threat messages because the name they drop it as it's hot. So we have to
This is scary.